Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Baby, what is up, Bills Mafia? It's a Monday night. It's the smoke break, and it's good to be back with y'all. I missed you last week. If you follow me on Twitter, you saw my antics out in Miami. I was out in the home of a future AFC East losing team. I was out in the Miami area for the birthday. That's why I wasn't on last Monday. It was awesome out there. Western New York's throwing me for a real spin. When I drove out to the Buffalo airport, as you know, I'm Rochester. Drove out to the Buffalo airport. It was gorgeous, right? So I'm like, all right, maybe things are turning around here. I'll come back. It'll be good. Go out to Florida. Obviously, it's, sunny, 85 every day. And I don't love that either, by the way. I would never want to live in that type of climate. I can't be hot all the time either, but obviously, don't want to be cold all the time either. But nonetheless, what I'm saying, you come back and it's snowing. And then yesterday it was snowing again here. And then today it was gorgeous. So such is life up in upstate New York. But it's good to be back with you. Missed you last week. It's been uneventful, I would say, for the NFL in comparison to what we have been used to over the last several months. It's just been nonstop story after story after story. And we're talking, not just any stories, either big time stories. And, this week in comparison was a bit on the lower end, but we still got plenty to talk about today. And I'm excited to get into it. And speaking of which, tonight I'm thinking to myself, I go, man, it's kind of dead in terms of news, although I do have 2 weeks of stuff to get my thoughts out on. I haven't talked about the stadium yet. A variety of things. Plus, we got stuff that just happened recently that we got to get into. But I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Can't do it myself tonight. Can't do it. And I go to myself, I go, wait, I've been on with Rico and Rev at the same time, but I haven't had Rev on the smoke break. Well, that changes tonight. My man, the Rev Rhodes, joining me.
Yo.
On the smoke break.
My man, what's popping?
Up,
what's going on, my man? How you doing?
How's your Monday, bro? How's it going? Was
Monday's
it a classic
good.
Monday or was it all right?
It was all right, for a Monday. But anytime we get a chance to chop it up, and talk about the Buffalo Bills, man, it makes Mondays a whole lot easier to digest.
Tell you what, you put that perfectly. It was funny last night. Me and my dad were just hanging, and he just subtly goes, yeah, thank God tomorrow's not Monday. And I didn't even realize what day it was. And it hit me and it gave me a laugh. So Monday, almost in the books, and we're going to cap it off with our friends here at the Buffalo Fanatics. And let's get right into it. Well, actually, before we get into anything, and leave this in the comments as well, everybody, who you got tonight? Tar Heels, Jayhawks.
You know what, man? I'm really not a big college basketball fan.
I hear you. It's not what it used to be. Me and my family were huge into Syracuse when they were in the original Big East, just huge into it. Cause we live right down the road. It's right there. And we were always into it. But when the Big East broke up and it went into the ACC, things changed. And then I don't know. It doesn't seem to have that same vibe. I do like the tournament, but I hear you. Like, it's not what it used to be.
Yeah. It's hard for me to get into it, man.
I hear you.
It really is.
Tonight, though, I'm all Tar Heels. 8 seed. I'm loving the run they're on. What they beating Duke twice, knocking Krzyzewski out of the Final Four in his final game ever. I mean, I was thinking to myself the other night as we were watching, and I thought to myself, that's got to be one of the most devastating sports losses I've ever seen. And then that might ever happen. Krzyzewski being as legendary of a coach as he is, he loses to the Tar Heels in the regular season. He loses the ACC championship. It's all the way to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Arch rival drops that game. So Tar Heels are on it. Dude, they are on a tear. So I'm rooting for them tonight. I always like the underdog. So go Heels.
For sure.
So let's get into football, Rev. It's, basketball, it is what it is. You know what I mean? But even the offseason in the NFL takes precedent over any regular season or postseason for basketball. Mm-hmm. And we got a bit of news out today in regards to the Bills, and that is finally getting the guy that we all wanted to make his comeback to Buffalo officially inked. Mm-hmm. Ryan Bates signs his 4-year deal today. Now, he had that same offer from the Bears. The Bills had the right to match it, and they do. Rev, your initial thoughts? I know we've talked about Bates in the past, but were you nervous about losing him, or did you feel like he was going to wind up coming back to the team regardless?
No, I was nervous. I'm not going to lie. The way it all kind of played out, it was kind of weird to me. Mm-hmm. But in the back of my head, I was really hoping that Bates came back. I knew that it was going to be tough, especially with him shopping around like that. I mean, because all it really took, I mean, we know Beane is strapped, right? He's right up against the cap, and all it took was for a team to kind of front load the contract, make it very difficult for the Bills to match it. And so I was really nervous about whether or not we could get him back. I was having flashbacks of losing Wyatt Teller. Yep. And I'm glad though that didn't happen. Because Ryan Bates, I mean, for all intents and purposes, Bates is a very good guard. I mean, he came on last year and he played exceptionally well for us.
He came on, man.
He came on. He was on fire. And I would argue that he was the actual the piece that really set the whole O-line off, especially once Brown got back, and he started getting healthy again. But once they inserted Bates, that line was a completely different animal, and I did not want to lose him and just go into the draft and just hope that we got somebody. And you don't want to ruin that continuity. So I'm glad that Bates is back on the team. Plus, we got Saffold, so that's a win-win.
And obviously, the line was a major point of emphasis, as we knew it would be. Yeah. Brandon Beane saying earlier, this is from Chris Brown on the Bills website, quoting Brandon Beane saying that he acknowledged that they were tight on the cap, obviously, but we decided to bring Ryan back. It's really important for us to be strong up front. Ryan's a versatile player. And like you said, Rev, talk about, these guys, these journeymen a lot of time are just guys that you don't necessarily considered, well-known players in the league. And all of a sudden you see him pop up and things change and you go, who is that guy? That was Ryan Bates to me last year. The run game just seemed to hit a stride, a spark. Singletary seemed to be moving better. I don't know what it was, man, but towards the tail end of the year, when Ryan Bates went in, me and Rico had said when we were on together, it was like he was just a gift from above. The way things were going on the line with the run game, things seem to switch quickly. Now, is that going to be the same outcome? Can you rely on that? I don't know, but I clearly am in agreement with the Bills and Brandon Beane. If you got that out of that guy and he's shopping around and there's clearly interest,
right?
Why take a risk in losing him if you don't have to, seeing what he brought to the team last year? And like you mentioned, a reworked offensive line, they still value him clearly. I mean, a 4-year deal.
Yeah, big time.
They're keeping him around for the foreseeable future. With this signing in place, Rev, and as you mentioned, the upticks on the offensive line in general, just an overall more sense of confidence at this point right now compared to where you were a season ago.
Yeah. Hands down. Now, knock on wood, this O-line can stay healthy throughout the year. But I mean, if we just look at the offensive line right now, just on paper, we've got from left to right, we got Deion Dawkins, all pro, right? Pro bowler. We've got Roger Saffold, who came in, all pro, pro bowler. Then we've got Mitch Morse on an extended deal. Then we got Bates along with the young stud in Spencer Brown. And so on paper, that offensive line, I would actually argue that it's on paper, it looks better than it did last year. I mean,
it sounds better. Just listening to you rattle it off. Yeah, right? It sounded good.
It is. I mean, because last year our O-line, the past few years, I would say under the OG Bobby Johnson, the O-line, it just didn't really have any type of any type of identity. You know, it seemed like it was just a hog posh, just a mixture of different guys with different attributes. You know, you had the Maulers and John Feliciano and Darrell Williams, and then you had the guys who can move in space and Deion Dawkins and Mitch Morse, and you just never really could tell what they wanted to do up front. But now that Bobby Johnson is gone, you bring in Aaron Kromer. Now you have a whole different identity, and you can already see it when you look back at Kromer and how he ran his offensive lines back in the day, even when he was back here with Buffalo. I mean, these guys, can move, right? That's what he wants. He wants his O-line who can move. And now look at the offensive line. Look how athletic they are across the board.
Yeah,
extremely athletic, and these guys can push people off the ball. So I'm excited about the direction the offensive line is headed. Now, if we add a couple of more pieces in the draft just to reinforce it, because we know Roger Saffold is only on essentially a one-year deal, so we're going to have to find his replacement, right? And so we're going to have to get that guy. But just looking on paper, what we have right now, and I feel very good.
And like you had said, so you think about the guys you just rattled off, right? So 3 of the guys alone had been addressed in this offseason: Mitch Morse, Saffold, and now Ryan Bates. So the point of emphasis, obviously, there. And then, of course, we already know what was going on the defensive side of things. Same situation, same point of emphasis. And it's just another feather in the cap, I would say, to just an absolute unbelievable top tier offseason thus far for Brandon Beane. I think the only thing you got to. And as we approach the draft, we're just about 3 short weeks away. Everybody's just thinking that one final cherry on top, the whipped cream on top of a very successful offseason. It's obviously cornerback. What is the strategy? And I can't even believe it as I look at the date in the top right here, April 4th. The draft is almost here. And then I've self-admittedly told everybody on here a million times, if you don't know by now, not a draft guy, never will be. It's just not, I can't, I used to listen to Judge and Till. I'd go on with them, and they were big into it, especially Judge. And I would just be like, how Judge would know guys playing middle school football. I go, how in the hell, man? How in the hell? Yeah. But even for somebody like me, who is not a draft guy by any means, it's become clear and obvious that Buffalo has got to have some sort of strategy heading into this draft to attack the cornerback position. Or do they, Rev? We talked earlier today, as did a lot of Bills Mafia in recent days, about bringing back another corner, perhaps, who has previously donned the Buffalo Bills jersey. Rev, I'm going to let you give me your thoughts first. Would you welcome back Stephon Gilmore as a quarterback for the Buffalo Bills?
Look, hands down, Stephon Gilmore can come on back. Look, I have no ill will towards Gilmore. I mean, I get it. You know, he said some things, on his way out, but that was years ago. Yeah, I mean, the guy can help the Buffalo Bills, even at his age and his stage in his career right now. I mean, this is a position right now about that really concerns me going forward. It's the instability of the cornerback position. I am very nervous about this. I mean, we got Trey White on the back burner, just hoping that he can get healthy as quickly as possible. But now you praying. I'm praying hard. Like, I'm praying hard for Trey.
No doubt. Yeah. And the crazy thing is, too, when you bring up Trey, I almost my eyebrows go up, because they did such a fantastic job last year of making it seem like he was never injured. It was incredible, the slack they picked up. But, I mean, that's not sustainable. So like you said, I mean, that's a gigantic point of emphasis.
Yeah, big time. I mean, you have to be concerned about that, and you hope that he can come back and he's the same type of player as he was beforehand, which I fully believe he is with the way our sports performance facility is right now, tops in the league. But still, I mean, we don't really have a timetable. I mean, we know it's probably September, October, and that's being conservative, maybe. And so with that being said, we have to look at who we have on the roster. We've got Dane Jackson, right? And then we got just a bunch of guys, right? I mean, Nick McLeod, Cam Lewis, Elijah Griffin, we brought back. I am not confident right there at all. I like Dane Jackson. I even think that Brandon Beane and the coaching staff have a measure of trust in Dane Jackson. But if I know Brandon Beane like I think I do, based upon how he has proved himself to us over the past few years in free agency, he is not sleeping well at all right now. He's looking at the lack of depth on this cornerback room, and he's saying, man, I've got to do something right now. He likes to go into the draft with as many needs as he can filled, so that way he can just take best player available without feeling the pressure or being desperate to reach and grab guys. And so that's why I'm glad you brought up Stephon Gilmore. Even Patrick Peterson, there was words out that the Bills were interested in Patrick Peterson before he went back and re-signed with the Vikings. And so you kind of get an idea of Beane's thinking right now. He wants to bring a veteran just for insurance purposes. And if the vet can actually be a guy who can beat out Dane Jackson and solidify that CB2 spot, if not for just 1 year, then so be it. So that's why I welcome Stephon Gilmore. If this is true, and he's really interested in Gilmore, bring him back. You've got Trey White coming back and Gilmore. You've got 2 Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber cornerbacks. Man, that right there would make me feel a whole lot better. But for now, until that happens, man, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't know. If I can't sleep, I know Beane can't sleep about it.
Well, according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, the Bills are definitely interested in a veteran cornerback. The market's pretty slim, and they have, according to those sources, have expressed interest at the bare minimum in Stephon Gilmore. I'm with you. Gilmore, to me, it's tough to hold any ill will on anybody because I mean, not that I don't, but when I think back on guys like Gilmore and Marshawn Lynch, who had a real bitter, departure from Buffalo. Mm-hmm. I look at the organizations now, like when Jalen Ramsey forced himself out of Jacksonville. Or was it the Jets? Or am I getting it confused?
No, it was Jacksonville.
Yeah, it was Jacksonville. But the point is, there's been several players over the last several years, and this is why we've seen the markets explode the way they have. They are not settling for playing with organizations that are not competitive or are not even close to being competitive, right? So I look back at those Bills. And, Stephon Gilmore, just 3 short years ago, was the defensive player of the year. He looked at what Buffalo had at the time, and he was 100% accurate. And he goes to New England, and it was probably, in hindsight, the greatest choice he's probably made ever in his life. I mean, you can't blame the guy whatsoever. And I look back at Marshawn Lynch, too, and the career he established in Seattle. And I have a tough time now. I think, at the time, it's impossible to look at it like that.
Sure.
Because all you want is somebody to have a reason to go watch. I mean, that's why we constantly talk about T.O. all the time, because back in those days, it was just, his pit stop in Buffalo was something to get you in the stands because you knew there wasn't anything else, right?
That's right.
And you think back on it.
Jeez, man.
And I look at it in the modern time, and if it were me, right, and as I get older, because in those days, I'm in middle school, elementary school. As I look at it now, man, if that was my career, and if right now I was in Houston, I was with the Jets, you name it, Detroit, it would be demoralizing. And if I had an opportunity to get out and do it, I would. So for me, no ill will if they try to bring in Stephon Gilmore. I'm in agreement with you. I think it's a move that immediately helps a position that is in desperate need. At the very least, even if he's not, what he once was, which he clearly is not, he is 100% a person you bring in that can immediately compete for the starting job. That's more than the Bills can say at this current moment. What really has me shocked, and it was in this moment that I was like, there has to be a plan for cornerback. I don't know what it is, whether it was going to be a trade, a draft pick, but the moment that they decided to not re-sign Levi Wallace for next to no money, they let him go to Pittsburgh for a bag of chips. And I listen, I mean, Levi Wallace, he was no Darrelle Revis, but I'll tell you what, it wasn't, in my opinion, worth allowing him to go to Pittsburgh in the situation you currently are in for that amount of money and not match it. So that to me, Rev, is the one glaring example that I hang my hat on when I think there has to be a plan.
Yeah.
And at this point, there has to be, right? Because if there isn't, then what's the deal?
And what's the purpose? Like why would you let him go if there was no plan? I mean, because like you said, what was it? What did he get? 2 year, $8 million, like $4 million a year. It's
$4 million a year. And when I saw that, I couldn't believe it. And that to me was like, it told me two things, Rev. And the one I don't believe to be true, because I've met Levi and he's a very soft spoken, nice dude. I can't imagine there was any animosity there. And if there was, I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
So that would be the only other reason I could see them letting him walk.
Mm-hmm.
The only other reason would be they had a plan to replace him, and that has yet to happen.
There has to be a plan. I mean, because you don't create a hole on a very important position, especially with Trey White out, if you don't have a contingency plan ahead. Now, I don't foresee Dane Jackson as that contingency plan. I think that Dane Jackson probably made the move a lot more digestible, but there's still another spot that's open until Trey comes back. And so I'm willing to think that Beane has something in store. I don't know what it is. I'm kind of leaning towards you, where it could be a trade, and it could be something that we don't see until draft night. You know, I think I've heard
you're talking about not a veteran, perhaps a bona fide starter, and giving up picks.
It could be.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Because I've heard some rumblings on Twitter about potentially using some player for pick trades. You know, maybe there's somebody on the Bills roster that's valuable to other teams, and they can use that as a package deal to kind of move up in the draft. Because here's where I am. If you're looking in the draft, which for me, I think that Beane should still get at least get a vet in here, because the draft is a crapshoot. You don't know what's going to happen.
Sure.
But if he has a plan for the draft, for me, you either go all in and get one of the top dogs, or you get somebody in right now who can help and compete, and then maybe draft somebody who can develop. And so that's why I'm thinking about, maybe there's a deal in the works, maybe a draft night deal. Maybe we send somebody. I don't know. I don't want to. I've got a name in mind, but I don't want to set Bills Mafia off, because I know this particular person is very polarizing. And if you say anything about this guy, man, you're gonna
too late. We got to hear it. What is it? What is it?
All right, I'm thinking Tremaine Edmunds, man. I mean, because when you look at,
so he's part of the deal in your mind.
He could be, because. Okay, so let's.
I don't think you're alone on that, by the way. I don't think you're alone on that.
Yeah, maybe. I hope not. But let's identify some of the top consensus cornerbacks in this draft. I mean, first of all, you've got Sauce Gardner, Ahmad Gardner, and then you've got Derek Stingley from LSU. Those are the consensus top two guys. Now they're probably going to be drafted in the top 15 easily, if not higher. And so my thinking is, if Beane has a plan to get a guy, like just get a top dog in here, he's going to have to use some type of assets to get himself up there. And Tremaine Edmunds is a very shiny piece. I mean, we look at, he's in the final year of his 5th year extension, right? They extended him for his 5th year option, picked it up, his 5th year option. And so he's in the last year of his deal. Is Beane going to be willing to invest that type of money into another linebacker like he has Matt Milano? Or is he looking at, I can probably get a guy in here for Tremaine and still draft Tremaine's replacement in this draft, because there are other linebackers in this draft who you can get who kind of have a similar athletic skill set as Tremaine. You can get him in here and develop him on a rookie deal, but at the same time, leveraging that player to get a top cornerback in this draft. That's my thinking. But I don't know if that's what Beane is looking into. But man, I remember, when was this? Last year. It probably was towards the end of the year. The Jets, Robert Saleh, head coach of the Jets.
Yeah.
After we had played him, there was a clip when he was at his press conference talking and glowingly talking about Tremaine Edmunds and how much he really liked Tremaine Edmunds. Now, his his defense, right? Coming from San Francisco, what he's looking for. I mean, he's got Mosley already, but they can use another linebacker, and Tremaine Edmunds could fit his scheme. And so I'm thinking the Jets, and what are they picking? Like top 5? They got like 2 picks and I think the top 10 of the draft. I mean,
yeah, the Jets are at 4, and then they're also at they're at 10, 4 and 10.
Yeah.
And so, I'm actually just looking right now, to your point. I'm looking at Mel Kiper and what he's thinking. And he's got the Jets going cornerback with the 10 pick. So
yeah, they need a
he's got your boy
too.
Sauce going at 10, the Jets.
You see, and that's kind of where Sauce is going to be going, top 10, top 15 at the latest. I mean, and so if hey, the Jets could be a trade partner there. Even the Giants with familiarity with Joe Shane. I don't know, but he's gonna have to get up there high in the draft. And if you don't want to lose future capital, draft capital, that is, I mean, why not use a guy like Tremaine Edmunds and package him along with pick 25, to try to move on up in the board for a top cornerback like Sauce Gardner?
Looking at hypotheticals here, just based on potential, and obviously you take a grain of salt with anybody who makes a mock draft, obviously.
Yeah.
But according to Mel Kiper, just looking here, he would have back-to-back-to-back cornerbacks going at 10, 11, and 12. So he would have the Jets taking Sauce Gardner. He'd have the Washington Commanders taking Stingley Jr., and then he'd have the Vikings taking McDuffie out of Washington. So that's back-to-back-to-back. So in his mind, he's right where you're at, where he's thinking it's going to be right up near the top, and they're going to be gone quick. Now I'm looking at and it's funny he's got this pick, because this is my luxury pick. This is my pick that I personally would love if it didn't feel like there was such a hole at cornerback. But Jahan Dotson is 100% the guy I want on this team. I would love it. It just feels like right now, based on the current climate, that the cornerback position might need to be addressed before you decide to go out and try to get another weapon on the offense, which you at this moment in time think, based on what we've seen, the recent track record, will be able to pull their fair share. Now, you look at our defense and you look at, like you said, you have, and this is why I usually don't worry about these things, mainly just because of Brandon Beane in general. But you look at the defensive backfield that we've had over the last several seasons, and it's been nothing shy of the best in the league. Yeah. And so that, to me, I just keep coming back to wrapping my head around the thought process here. I got to think, whether it's what you're getting at, where a player's involved in a trade assets in general, going to a team either to move up or to acquire a starting cornerback somewhere, I could see it happening. But I got to tell you, if they don't go corner, which based on what I'm, listening to you talk and obviously how valuable that position has become. I mean, outside of, on defense, outside of the edge rusher, I mean, it goes quarterback, edge rusher, and then you need a top corner in this league.
Yeah.
You absolutely do. And that's, top of the draft, especially this year when there's next to no quarterbacks worth taking a look at. So that's it makes it even more difficult, because the teams up at the top who are typically in a fight for a quarterback, and that's what usually eats up the top of the draft, that's really not there this year.
Exactly.
So it will be interesting. And I do think that if that winds up not happening, if they don't make a move to get a corner, I don't think Brandon Beane is the guy that sits on his hands at 25 and just takes who he thinks is the best available corner. I think if the guy that they want isn't available, they go next best player at the next position, which they think that they need an upgrade in. And that's where I do see that Jahan Dotson pick coming to fruition. And I actually think it's hilarious that this is what he has, because this is like my dream pick. My family and I are Penn State fans, and they have just been they've just been a tough watch. Like they always give you enough hope. It's like the Bills back in the day. They'd always give you enough hope to make you think that they, were legitimate contenders. But with Penn State, it's always like, during the season, they'll be ranked to start the year, then they'll move their way up. Then there'll always be a devastating loss followed by an utter collapse. And last year was exactly that. But Jahan Dotson, I mean, that dude made you want to watch every game. Just an unbelievable athlete at the position with weak quarterback play too. And you wonder, man, give that guy Josh Allen.
But I mean, Jahan Dotson, I mean, I like him. I can see him fitting with Buffalo, but because let's look at it. I mean, we got McKenzie on a 2-year deal, and then Jamison Crowder is on a 1-year deal. And so those are not long-term investments at the slot receiver position. And so, I mean, if BPA happens to be, Jahan Dotson, I wouldn't be mad at it. My only thing is man, where are the touches coming? Right? I mean, you spend a 25 pick, on a wide receiver. You got Diggs, you got Davis, McKenzie, Crowder, Knox, Howard. And then you insert.
That's why I'm telling you, it's a luxury pick to me. That's how it seems right now. But you're right; it's a future investment. But for this year,
absolutely,
no doubt about it, no doubt.
And it may be worth it, And I'm looking up Jason Miller, and he's hitting us up with some.
And by the way, thank you, Rev, because I'm noticing, as I do very often, and I can never apologize enough. I get going, I get on my Jahan Dotson train. I'm missing super chats. My man Jason Millard coming in here. We'll go to the first one. He was kind enough to send two. God bless him, Jason Millard. You're the man. He comes in saying Von is the hired hitman, which, by the way, that Von Miller video that came out with him and his dad, how cool was that,
legit, man? I loved it.
His dad, my gosh. Just hearing his dad tell his son, obviously, a future Hall of Famer, telling his son, you go to Buffalo. That's the best choice for you. That's the best place to win.
Man, I mean, loved it.
Sometimes I'll hear this stuff, man. I go, there's no way. I mean, sometimes it's still, just surreal. But
it is, absolutely.
I love it. Von is the hired hitman. The D line we picked up will open up Oliver the way Phillips did when he played hard at the end. Cornerback is a need. Although I like Dane. I don't mind Dane. I love Teron Johnson. I don't think he's obviously a bona fide, stud by any means, and nobody is on this team other than Tre'Davious White. But it's clear and obvious that position needs to be addressed, and it's going to be addressed in the draft. It's just a matter of when. Back to Jason Miller again, and this time he says you risk getting rid of a top 10 linebacker on a cornerback. We still have Hyde and Poyer, where I have faith in our backside defense. I mean, of course, how could you not? And you brought up an interesting point, Rev, and the reason I said you're not alone is because I think there's a lot of people. I don't think I know. There's a lot of people on both sides of the fence when it comes to Tremaine Edmunds. Now, I've always been pretty neutral on it. I don't think he's been incredible. I also think when you look at him as an athlete, he's just a freak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like most guys Brandon Beane drafts, are.
Yeah.
I look at him. I look at his body of work, and it hasn't been, you would argue, enough to get a top level contract, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But you also look at it, like Jason says, do you give up a guy who goes somewhere who definitely 100% has the potential to be that guy somewhere? Is the risk worth the reward? Also, who is the replacement? Do you create one problem, or do you eliminate one problem by creating another? You just have to wonder. And I look at Tremaine Edmunds, he just seems like one of those guys, and that's why the story interests me so much and what they're going to wind up doing with him, because he's just that origin story guy with Josh Allen, come up the ranks, and he's always been a guy that everybody has had a very staunch opinion on, one way or the other. Get him gone, keep him around. If it were me today, I honestly think with your idea, I think it's plausible. When I look at who they could move that would be worth value to another team to move up to do that, Tremaine Edmunds is the guy. Because you look around, who else are they going to be willing to give up? And who else, when you look at the Bills in general, a guy that because you obviously have to command value for the player.
Right.
And the Bills aren't giving up any asset currently that is of top value to move up that way. But that is one guy that does make you wonder. Yeah. Because, the contract talks with him they've started, since he entered the league. Yeah. It's been one way or the other. But if it were, gun to my head, Rev, I don't see it, but I wouldn't be shocked. That's where I'm at with it. Yeah. But I got to tell you, and I've said this a few times during this offseason, Brandon Beane, this to me by far has been the most impressive offseason for him, just because he took every necessary swing to make this team fully loaded for that run, just like the Rams have done, the Buccaneers have done that run, the run where you listen, you know where you're at. It's time to make it happen. And with that said, nothing shocks me. So if he is hell-bent on a cornerback, especially one that they have their eye on, nothing would shock me if that was the guy that they absolutely wanted and convinced themselves that they need.
Yeah, 100%. And just going back to Tremaine Edmunds, and even what Jason Miller had said, I would be willing to give up a top 10 linebacker like that, because there are other options in this draft. At the linebacker position, there's a guy named Chad Muma. There's a guy named Troy Anderson. There's a couple of guys who have talent
Are you talking later rounds that you replace this in?
I mean, no. If I'm trading Tremaine, I'm looking to probably get his replacement probably in round two, round three, because you look at like there's a guy Chad Muma. I think he's from Montana State. I think that guy. I mean, he's oh my gosh, when you watch him, hands down, the guy's extremely athletic, and he's very comparable to Trey. He's got, I think he's like 6'3", 245, 250, something like that. And even if I'm not mistaken, I think I read a report from the Draft Network maybe a month or so ago where they were talking. They had an interview with him, and he said that he had met with the Bills during the combine. And so you see that the Buffalo Bills are already kind of looking down the road about Tremaine Edmunds' potential replacement. And so it wouldn't shock me one bit if they decided to do that. And I think it's also, when you look at the moves that Brandon Beane made this offseason across the defensive line, this is where I think it's probably makes it easier to do, because we all know that Tremaine Edmunds, he's had a hard time against the run and things of that nature. And a lot of people were saying, look, he has no defensive line. He has no one tech guy in front of him. Star was kind of he wasn't playing to his ability or to his potential. And Tremaine has a lot on his plate that he has to do. So what Brandon Beane did was he revamped the entire defensive line, made it beefier and stronger up front. And so
that's a good point.
So you should see a better Tremaine Edmunds. However, if what the investment that Beane made in the defensive line can have a positive impact on the middle linebacker, could it be possible for you to enter a rookie at, let's say, round two, a guy who has high potential, put him in there as a rookie? Because let's not forget, Tremaine Edmunds started as a rookie. So I don't think Brandon Beane and them are scared of starting a rookie at middle linebacker. For crying out loud, they switched his position coming out of college. He wasn't even a middle linebacker. He was outside linebacker and switched to the mic. And so I don't think that's an issue with them. But what they did up front could make it easier to do and replace. And then Jason Miller even talked about like the safeties, Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer covering up a lot of the maybe the lack of ability at cornerback. Look, for me, I don't want to rely on that. I want a guy up there who can hold his own, and then Poyer and Hyde are just like the cherry on the top, right? You don't want to have a guy that always has to, go over there and help out all the time. You don't want that to happen. That's why I think Beane, he wants a bona fide guy at corner. I think he's done with just mediocre guys, settling for guys who can just kind of get by. We saw that with Levi. I love Levi.
No, you're right. You're 100% right.
Right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? For what? How long has Beane been there? 4 years?
It's been a stopgap position outside.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cross Tre'Davious White. It's been that way. Yeah. 100%.
That's it. I think this is the year it changes. Because when you just look at the landscape of the AFC for a second, you look at what's happened. Look at the gauntlet in the AFC. We got quarterbacks out the wazoo. We've got wide receivers changing. Please, we got Devontae Adams now in the AFC. Okay, we've got Tyreek here. We thought we were going to get
by the way.
Oh my gosh!
I can't even that. Which, by the way, we're going to need to talk about that afterwards, because I realize I haven't gotten to speak on that yet. So, thank you. But keep going. Yes.
Come on, man. And so we got Tyreek Hill on top of that we got to see twice a year. I get it. Tua is throwing him the ball, but still, Tyreek Hill is a beast. Give him the ball in space. He's dangerous. And so we've got all of these wide receivers, and you got Jamar Chase, right? And up in Cincy. You need cornerbacks. You need cornerbacks in this league, especially in the AFC, to compete with a lot of these guys, with these quarterbacks and with these wide receivers. You have to go at least 3 deep now. You can't settle for, I've got one lockdown and the rest are just kind of pieces there. No, you have to be stout across the board. And so I think things are going to change this year. We finally may see him go after a first-round cornerback or a high investment at that position this year to solidify it, finally solidify it. And that, at least that's what I'm hoping, but I could be wrong.
Well, God, I think when it comes to this, that's why it's so tough for me to get into it, because if the guy like Kuiper, for instance, he gets ripped on every year. Oh, you got this wrong, you got that wrong. Yeah. That just goes to show you nobody knows a damn thing. The GMs don't even know. Half the time, these guys don't even pan out. More than half the time. Nobody knows anything.
It's a crapshoot, man. Outside of maybe the top 5, if you're lucky, everything else is just, Oh, you just have no idea. And
Yeah.
and going back real quick about before you switch up on this, you had mentioned Mel Kiper and their mocks about cornerbacks. I saw something. I think it was last night. Bucky Brooks even put out a mock draft. Take it for what you know for what it is. But he even put out a mock draft where there were 4 cornerbacks that were gone before the Buffalo Bills selected at 25. 4 were gone.
4. Okay. So Kuiper's got 3. So either way, that seems to be the consensus. The top guys are gone. No question.
And it speaks to the change that's happening in the NFL right now. The passing league, receivers are coming into the league now, and they're performing quickly.
Yeah.
And you got these quarterbacks. I mean, so it's not a surprise to see all of these cornerbacks get selected early in the draft, and before the Bills select at 25, they're going to be sitting here digging through. Man, I've got the 5th or the 6th cornerback I got to select. I mean, what do I want to do? So that's why I'm going back. I think Beane may make a move up and be aggressive to get somebody in here early.
Carl coming in, he disagrees, but he also agrees with you on certain points. He's saying, in essence, what we were talking about with the stopgap position at quarterback too, that has been Teron Johnson, that has been Dane Jackson, Levi Wallace. It's these late round guys who just kind of rotate in, right? And we've seen sparks, and we've seen, it's been very up and down. Nothing solidified like we, keep talking about. But he is not thinking that they go from 25 up. But like I said earlier, if that is the 100% necessity that they're going into this draft with that mentality, if this is the one position that no matter what we got to give up, so, as long as it's within reason, obviously, we will do it, then it would not shock me. But I do look at it. I look at the way that they are positioned currently, and I'm wondering if that is, I don't know. My mind is so scrambled on this because out of everything that they've done this offseason to pursue every position that needed a hole filled, this is just the one that they haven't. And you can't imagine that there isn't something there. But if they want that something to be the someone, it's going to have to be a hefty price. No question. Yeah. Because like you mentioned, and, it's a great point because we've seen this the last several years. You see the emphasis has now become outside of the quarterback position, like we were just talking about a little bit earlier. Who are the guys who go early? The defensive ends, the corners, the guys that you need to have a chance to stop the Bills, Mahomes, fill in the blank from putting up 30 plus. It's damn near impossible anymore. You need somebody to manage the bleeding. And that's where you get these guys. And, the folly of being a good team, which we hadn't been used to for so long, is you have to make tougher decisions. Yeah. You have to make tougher decisions in the draft. It's not easy when you're down that low. Silas, my man, coming in saying, if it's not McDuffie or an inside or what am I losing
interior
my
line?
Okay. I thought it said LOL. My bad, Silas. Good Lord. Well, Silas ain't LOLing with that Beane picture right there.
Oh yeah.
Nothing to laugh about there. That's business as usual.
All
right
business.
There. So interior O-line, we should trade back to early round 2 and a 4th or 5th. Get Watson and Muma in the 2nd. Size and talent at cornerback and O-line later. Silas, he's got the whole plan written down. Yeah, he's ready to rock.
Yeah, I mean, you see Muma. That's the guy I was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
I mean,
you
have to get him in round 2. But here is where I push back with the whole trade back argument. We have how many picks? 8 picks. 8.
I don't know where the value comes from that.
I think we have like 8 or 9 picks. Well, look at the team. Look at our roster across the board.
Yeah,
it is extremely difficult for anybody to ink out a starting position on this roster right now. So when you think about, we've got 8 picks or 9 picks or whatever. Do you think Beane is going to really bring in that many guys? I mean, where are they going to fit? If this is a Super Bowl window, right?
And it is.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're trying to win this championship while we have Josh Allen and Diggs and all these guys under contract right now, paying them big bucks. You have to consider the fact that, man, do I really want to just sit back and be conservative like I have been, which made sense when they were building the team. When they were building the team, it made sense. Trade back, get a couple of more picks, add to this position, add to that position. But now that your team is solidly built in a Super Bowl contending team right now, before we even touch the draft, mind you, is it more valuable for you to sit back and take all 8 guys and just, be conservative, or do you want to leverage those picks that you have with maybe a player or 2 that you have on the roster and go for the gusto to take advantage of this window you have right now? I would be more willing to take a huge gamble to get 1, 2, maybe 3 top guys who I feel can really help put this team over the edge, rather than just settling for whoever falls to us at 25 or 57 and the rest of the draft, and just allowing them to kind of compete and hope for the best. I want to be aggressive this year while we are in this window. That's why I push back with the trade back scenario, because then you're adding more picks, adding more players. Come on now. Do you see 9 people making it on this roster, right? I don't see it, right? I don't see it.
You know what's not winning in this league anymore? Stacking draft picks. Nobody's doing it anymore. Tom Brady going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they'll write, just like they will for everything he's done in his life, but they'll write a book about this someday, and it's 100% true. The NFL absolutely flipped on its head when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay, and the ability to start giving up major assets for players in a win now moment that are going to be starters started to form. And then the Rams did it notoriously. I don't think the Rams have a first round draft pick until 2075, but who the hell cares? Who the hell cares?
Right.
Like I keep hearing this quote rattling around all over the place. If they win the Super Bowl, no one's going to ask what they gave up for Stafford. And they gave up the world for him. And no one gives a damn, because they just want it all. Who the hell cares? And I've said this before, and I'll say it 1,000 times. I don't give a rat's ass what this team would have to give up, do, who they'd have to I don't care. I swear to God, fill in the blank to get that done. So
that's right.
That's why I kept saying, if there is a guy that they are 100%, and I have the utmost trust in them. Like, in my opinion, if they trade up in the first round, that tells me, like, that's the guy. No question about it. Like, that was the play. That was the goal the whole time. Get it done in the draft. That proves it, right? So when you look at it and you look at the draft, I'm 100% in agreement with you. Stack it up if you think it's worth it, right? Because like you said, drafting 8 guys, which I guarantee they won't do. There'll be some move or something. But at the end of the day, even drafting, like, on a roster like this, a handful of guys at positions that are just definitely not going to be legitimate contenders for a starting job, it's pointless. And we're seeing it time and time again now. And I think it's the way to do it. The formula now, you got the cornerback, right? You got the quarterback. Once that's in place, because that's the toughest thing to do.
That's the piece.
You have to get that done.
Yeah.
But once you do that, 1, you have the leverage to get guys to come to you. And then 2, it's okay, we have that leverage. So why would I invest a lottery ticket in a guy who has not proved a damn thing in this league when I can then switch that up? And like we'll talk about in a second for Tyreek. I mean, I think the Chiefs were by far the biggest winner out of that trade, bar none.
Yeah.
The assets that they got, because in my opinion, they were willing to. Let's just get into this now, because I haven't talked about it yet.
Come on.
Tyreek to Miami. I absolutely love it. I absolutely loved. Well, hold on. Before we do that, I'm all over the freaking place. I got to get to these super chats. I see the green pop up, and I'm like, I can't forget. Damn it. We got Dante Jenkins. I disagree, Rev, on depth, especially at linebacker. Edmunds is a liability, especially when he can't afford to be a liability. See, Dante, there's two sides of the fence.
Both sides,
Dante's on that one. Yep. I told you, I swear to God, sometimes I think I'm the only one that's just sitting on the fence, looking at both sides. I'm like, I'm dying to see what happens here. But Dante, he's not alone. No. The Tremaine lovers, they're not alone. There's a ton of them. You know what I mean? Silas, again, appreciate you, my man. If it's not a round 1 DB, we'd be reaching. We have future needs at running back, DB, safety, wide receiver, and O-line. Morris Hyde and Poyer ain't young. You can't pay everyone. And that, to me, I would agree with. And that's why I said earlier, if God forbid, there's a guy at 25 that is at the corner position who is not worthy of 25, they're not doing it. There's no way they're doing it. So the more we talked about this tonight, I hadn't really thought about it, but it's not even like it's almost a necessity. It's a guarantee. If they want corner, they're going to have to do that. Like, no question about it. So
you gotta be aggressive.
I agree completely, Silas, and I know you do too, Rev. It's not worth it. You'd think to play that card at that position when it's not going to be a guy that you are 100% sure is going to be an instant, the instant ability to fill the spot.
Right. Especially when there's been no movement right now at that position, going into the draft. Like if Beane goes into this draft without adding a vet, and then he still just kind of sits and is conservative, I would question that. Now, that's why it lets me. That's why I think if he goes in here without adding a vet, he's gonna be aggressive. I think Beane is going to be aggressive.
Yeah, I think you're convincing me tonight, man, because I haven't really thought about it, but it is facts. You're going to have to do that.
It makes sense, right? It makes sense
100%.
Where we are right now. It makes sense. Like Beane. That's why I think he's the best general manager in the NFL right now. He has done a phenomenal job, man. I love. I
want to give him a hug so bad.
I
said this. I said this. That's a guy I just want to sit down with so bad because that dude. He just seems like the nicest guy, but dude, I wouldn't mess with him for anything.
He's a stone cold killer. Man.
He'll kill you, dude. He's silent killer, in the night. That guy, I would just love to pick it.
Dude is a ninja, man.
He is, man. You're right.
So look at where we are. Look at our window. I think Beane. Okay, when he first came in, he would always say, my philosophy is to build through the draft. You build through the draft. I'm not going to, splurge in free agency. I'm going to build through the draft. And he's done that. But what happens once your team is built?
Bingo.
Then what are you going to do?
What the Rams did.
Exactly.
Or to the extent in which you can do it, right? I mean, with what you got,
Right. Think of a house. Think of a home builder. Right. They're laying the foundation. They're doing all these kind of things, right, to build the house. But before the house is ready to sell, you've got people that come in here. They're finishers. They go in there. They make sure everything is pristine. Everything is clean. They're taking their time. They're staging the home. They're doing all of these things. That doesn't happen until the house is built. I think right now, when you look at the Buffalo Bills team, the roster, the house is built, baby. So now it's time for some finishers. Von Miller, finisher, right? You add that guy in there. Boom. Now look at cornerback. Could there be a finisher that Brandon Beane targets in this draft or even makes a huge trade in free agency that we don't see coming? Who knows? But he's going to add somebody that's going to be a finisher. The house that Brandon Beane built is already built and established. We just need guys that are ready to go ahead and take it over the top. Silas coming through again, my man.
And he's saying sign Gilmore, and I want to test it. The more I think about it, the analogy is perfect, right? You get the house built, and then you build such a great house. The one problem with having such a great big house, there's a lot of maintenance there. You got to keep it up, right? That house, it looks great, right? But if you don't get the plumbing done here, you don't fix the door back there when that things start to unravel pretty quick.
Yes.
And you have the ability right now, the market's high, right? If we're talking about the analogy of a house right now, the market is booming. At this moment in time, you want to get the best butler in the house, right? The best maids in the house, the chefs, and they've gone out and they've done to their best ability that in accordance of the positions in which they needed to fill. This is why this one is so interesting. That's why we've talked about it for literally 40 minutes. Because even for someone like me if the Bills.
No, Bot, did you go out? It looks like Bot is having some technical difficulties. Oh, are you back in, Bot?
Of course I am. Of course. I just had the guy in here the other day for the Wi-Fi, the owner of my building. All good. And the weird thing is the Wi-Fi, when it's good, I mean, it's booming. But then it'll just cut out. It'll just dip out. And then it'll come back. So whatever. Annoying. What I was saying now, I don't even know what the hell is. What I was saying essentially is I don't even know, man. I lost my track.
You talking about the house being
I was talking about the damn house. Now I'm so deep in the analogy. I'm starting to think that I'm like in outer space. I don't know where the hell I am.
The house being built, you getting the butlers in there, all
I got the butlers in there. I got the chefs in there. They're ready, right? They're ready. That was that, dude. The analogy's gone. I swear to God. I saw the circle start spinning and I go, dude, that's it. That analogy was way too much. Because I had the compound going, man. I had the maintenance workers. Like, those houses that are so big that I knew a guy downstate. The house was so big that they had to have like their own lawn care team all day. Yeah. And I guess what the point I was trying to make was like, those are the first world problems that you face, right? And the first world problem you face when you have a quarterback like Josh Allen is, what are we doing in this current moment to absolutely maximize the best opportunity we have to achieve success? And I like what you said earlier, because the reason I loved this offseason so much for Brandon Beane is based on the exact points that you just made. He stuck to his guns and his beliefs thoroughly, building through the draft, and it worked. And that is when you go and get the butler and the maid.
That's it, baby.
Exactly.
We came back full circle.
Because that is what good general managers, which we have seen recently, do. And it's necessary now. It's necessary in this current league. I mean, look at what is getting it done. The last two Super Bowl champions are the perfect example, and it keeps happening over and over again. And it's going to continue to happen too. It's going to continue to happen where, one franchise will give up the boat for one guy, and then usually it's a team who's not hurting. They give up the guy to somebody who's desperate. And that's what we're getting to in Miami in a second here. More super chats coming in. Dante Jenkins saying, side note, glad Bengals didn't win before us. Been a Bills fan since I was introduced to football at 8. And I am 42 and been in Cincinnati my whole life. Whoa-dee. Is that a Cincinnati saying? I don't know that one.
Houday. He's saying F Houday. That's what he's saying.
Dude. Yeah. I'm still stuck in that house analogy. That house analogy and the Wi-Fi cutting off for a second, absolutely.
I was gonna say something about it.
Uppercut me, bro. I just said hootie. For God's sakes, Dante. I'm sorry. God, that's $5 that I'm gonna need to find a way to get back. Yeah, hootie.
I'm with you, Dante. I'm with you, man.
Hootie.
And I did not want them to win at all.
And I thought I thought interior O lineman earlier was all out. That Rev, I might need to get an exam after this.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
I might need it. Speaking of houses, we got some leaky pipes right now. I'm a little all over the place, for God's sake. New rumors have surfaced coming in from the Rev. New rumors surfaced. Beane made a comment about trading up to one of the Giants picks. They have the 5th and 7th picks. Well, a little classic case of scratch ours, we scratch yours type deal. I mean, I don't hate it. Plus, with the Giants, they're one of those teams who needs all the young house. See, this is back to that building the house analogy. Yes. They are on the ground floor.
They're on the ground floor, man.
Gable's the contractor, and he's looking to get something in there. He doesn't care what it is.
He don't care. I just need it in there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I love that, and that goes back to it. I mean, I'm saying Beane is going to be aggressive, man. He's going to try to get up there if he can. And there's a guy or two that he loves. I feel it in this draft.
So let's talk about Tyreek Hill, because I have yet to say it's crazy. I guess I was thinking to myself, why hasn't anything happened this week? And it's because I wasn't on last week, and it was a culmination of like 2 weeks of stuff. So I haven't talked about Tyreek Hill yet. As I said a little bit earlier, and we'll get into this full blown right now. Love it. I absolutely love it that he is going to Miami and he is no longer a Kansas City Chief. If you go and look at the Vegas odds right now, the Bills are currently the team predicted to have the most wins out of the entire stacked AFC. Think about that for a second, right? You look at the AFC, we've been talking about it all offseason, how stacked it is, how insanely good it is, unbelievable talent, especially on the offensive side of the ball. There are the Buffalo Bills. 11.5 is their projected win total. Everybody else 10.5 or lower. 3 teams at 10.5, Rev, all 3 of them in the AFC West, obviously. Gosh, so it's insane. But with that said, the divisional opponents are looking at ways that they can try and threaten the Buffalo Bills. I'll give Miami credit where I won't be able to give credit to New England. Devontae Parker, sorry, he's not going to be the savior for you out in New England. You've made no moves. It's shocking as hell to me.
Nothing.
I'm telling you this right now, and this is a sword I'm willing to die on if it doesn't happen. New England is going to blow this year. I cannot look at the landscape of this conference and see where they fit in. Where do they fit in with the current talent that they have? Compared to what else is out there, they have done nothing. Whereas Miami, I mean, I think it's hilarious when you're the guy at the top of the hill watching the little guy trying to get up. I'll give him credit for trying. New England hasn't even tried. Right. But Tyreek Hill, Rev, to the Dolphins. And the Dolphins, I mean, they pulled up the Brinks truck. They pulled up the entire itinerary of draft picks that they had. And this is interesting because this ties back to everything we were just talking about. Miami is in that stage. They're kind of in like housing purgatory, right? They don't know what's going on. They're not rebuilding, but they're definitely not a contender in regard to the Super Bowl. They're on the playoff brink for sure, but what do they have into coaching change? Obviously, a lot of BS surrounding them last season, so a lot going on there. And they make this move for Tyreek Hill. They re-sign Xavier Howard, and they're doing what they got to do in order to at least make a run at it. Whereas I can't see that happening for New England. But Tyreek Hill, he's going to Miami. The reason I love it is because even if I lose to Miami both times in the regular season, which 1,000,000% will not happen, I don't care, because that means I'm 90% likely to not have to face Tyreek Hill in the playoffs. And the other thing too is you look at what they gave up. You look at what Miami gave up. This is the one instance where I look at the Chiefs and I think taking the picks makes sense. And the reason I think that taking the picks makes sense is because there was no way that the Chiefs, the way that things keep going, and this is the situation the Bills are going to run into soon here, when you got guys who are worthy of getting paid, and a lot of them, it's going to be tough to do. And I understand that they offered, as much as they could for Tyreek Hill, but when you look at what they got in return, I think one of the biggest benefits for Kansas City is a gigantic cap relief. And in pursuit of that cap relief, it's not like they're suffering on offense. I mean, it's not like they lose Tyreek and no one's coming in. They have some ascending stars that most people don't even talk about in comparison to top level wide receivers, right? Pringle, Hardman, but you also bring in Juju. And I'm not a gigantic fan of Juju, but he's definitely a piece that's going to start. He can play, right? So Rev, when you look at it overall, if I'm a Chiefs fan, I think this year compared to the Bills roster, I think that 10.5 win total projection for them and the 11.5 for the Bills perfectly illustrates that they're just one notch down. I think the Chiefs without Tyreek Hill are one notch down than Buffalo. And I think you don't have to go any further than the divisional championship to see that. Tyreek Hill really was the difference in that game, right? He was a huge difference in that game. And so, I'm glad that he's gone, that he's no longer in
Talk
the
to me
AFC
about
West.
it. Rev, I want your overall thoughts on, I guess, a guy that we've struggled containing 2 times a year. The overall thought process of him being in Miami, how does it shape up for you just in relation to how the Bills are affected by it? First of all, I don't think Tyreek is going to be the same Tyreek that we've seen in Kansas City. Okay, it's completely different offense, right? But we don't have to worry about. I mean, when you got Pat Mahomes throwing him the ball, that makes a huge difference. Okay, now make no mistake about it. Tyreek he's that dude. He's very, very, very dangerous, and putting him in the Miami Dolphins with Tua, I foresee a lot of quick passes. But the thing of it is, all you have to do is get the ball in his hands, and he's still very dangerous. But I'm not too scared of him. Well, you know what? Let me take that back, because I was gonna say I'm not afraid of him beating us deep, because I don't know if Tua can really do that with his arm. But I mean, they've got Jalen Waddle beside him too, who is extremely fast.
And Gesicki. I mean, they're no joke over there. But the thing is, Tua, that's the one thing I keep coming back to.
Yeah,
that's why I said earlier to you, Rev, like you can't say they're not trying. Like Miami is freaking, they're putting something together, but Tua.
And they have to do it. Tua is the linchpin. I mean, we're gonna find out, whether or not Tua is, all that they've cracked him out to be. I mean, hopefully, first of all, he's gonna have incredible pressure on him this year.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
Which for him, it's not fair because especially when you add Tyreek Hill, because now you've got Tyreek Hill, you got a Super Bowl winning wide receiver, top 5 wide receiver in the league coming in, who just played with Pat Mahomes. Right. So he has that pressure to be like, dang, I'm not Pat Mahomes, you know what I'm saying? And so he may force it a lot. But on top of that, man, when you add all of that talent around him, he's going to be expected to perform and produce and at least make them competitive and give them a reason not to draft his replacement or find his replacement. And so this year is going to be very interesting for me for Tua. I'm actually kind of interested in seeing how he's going to fare. I think he's going to do pretty well in that Mike McDaniel scheme. I think it's different. I think it kind of lends itself to his skill set. But it's going to be different. That offense is going to be different. But Bills, don't start, puffing your chest out and thinking that, hey, we're the King Kongs of this hill. I mean, look. They've got talent on that team. Let's not forget about that and overlook them and think that they're just going to be some pushovers. We have to play them. Tyreek Hill on that team makes them even more dangerous with Gesicki, with Jalen Waddle. With them, they still have Preston Williams, I think. And then let's not forget they have they brought Chase Edmunds in the backfield. Look, they've got some weapons, and we're just going to see what's going to happen here in the AFC East with them.
They've never been a pushover. Or I shouldn't say that, not never, but I'll go back to 2 years ago. It was the only game I could go to during COVID because Miami was allowing fans. So I went out to the Bills-Dolphins game week 2. Up until that point, it was Josh Allen's best game of his career. That game was unbelievable. It was also like the second game, I think, ever with Stephon Diggs, and the whole thing just came together in unison. The whole thing was just one gigantic, just beautiful sight. It was amazing. I'll never forget that game because it just felt like that was the coming out party for the new era of the Buffalo Bills under the Stephon Diggs regime here with Josh Allen. That game came down to the last possession. You want to know who was playing quarterback? Ryan Fitzpatrick. And that is who was playing quarterback for that team when they were lethal, when they beat the Raiders to get into playoff position, even though nobody thought they'd even have a chance. Right. I keep coming back to Tua because the reason when you say don't puff your chest out, don't act like the king of the hill, and I'm usually like that because I don't think that benefits anybody unless it's a bona fide fact. Like looking at the Jets, I'll say that all day long. I mean, no reservations, right? Easily. With the Dolphins, I have no reservation with it either because they have been getting worked by Josh Allen and this Bills team the last several seasons. And the competitiveness I have seen out of them has occurred when Tua is not the quarterback. And I am just a firm believer that the Miami Dolphins will not be a legitimate threat to the Buffalo Bills if Tua Tagovailoa is the quarterback of that team. And I agree with you. I do feel bad for the kid. I loved him at Alabama, and that's saying something because I can't stand Alabama. But I loved him. He threw a beautiful ball, really humble, awesome kid, easy to root for. Right. He goes to Miami and, immediately had the injury history. He was being, looked down upon in that regard. You come into Miami with these unbelievable expectations. They haven't had a legitimate quarterback since Dan Marino, so you have that stress coming in. Right. And then he gets into this weird mind game with the organization where he's being benched and started every other week. And then you got Deshaun Watson rumors floating around. And then your coach is suing the team because your owner was trying to throw games. And you're just like, I do absolutely feel bad for him. I don't think it was an ideal situation. I also don't think when I look at the AFC and I look at the quarterback talent, I can't, and for the life of me, allow myself to think that a team led by Tua in comparison to teams led by other quarterbacks in the AFC that at this point is just the gap is so far you can't even see it in the distance. It's tough for me to wrap my head around it. But what I do think benefits Miami here is that Tyreek is one of those guys that you can just allow him to make the play himself. I mean, the play against Buffalo where he takes it to the crib, I mean, that was just a slant route. I could have thrown that ball. So that does help Tua. But what I see out of this, Rev, the big thing for me, Tyreek Hill just became the highest paid wide receiver in NFL history. And I think he deserves it. In my lifetime, I always told people this, even when I think it wasn't it was something that was kind of like, and I think it might even still be that way. It was kind of like shocking to say, but anytime somebody asks me like best wide receiver in the league, the guy you'd take over anybody else, I always say Tyreek Hill. Always. I've never seen a guy like him on the field before, ever. He brings something to the team that nobody else in the league brings, right?
Yeah, no. Scary, dangerous.
So he's deserving of it, right? But if I want somebody to give up that money and that draft capital, it's somebody in my division. Because if you're going to give that up for a guy like that, who, mind you, he deserves the money and he deserves the asset that they gave up for him because he's worth it. He's not worth it in Miami. Tyreek Hill doesn't come to Miami and make them an AFC East contender, in my opinion.
Right.
He doesn't do that. A wide receiver can elevate your team tremendously when you have the quarterback in play. We have seen it incrementally get better every year with Josh Allen as the wide receiver depth has gotten better and better. You bring in John Brown, it got better. Cole Beasley, better. Diggs, better. And it just keeps compounding. That's why this season, I think it's going to be through the moon.
Yes.
Tyreek, though, I don't care how good of a wide receiver you are not transcending an organization if you do not have a quarterback that is going to be doing the same. And that to me is why I'm all in on it, Rev. I love the money they gave up and the capital they gave up because you are spending a fortune on a player that to me does not come in and immediately make you. It doesn't justify the means because you don't have the proper people in place to utilize what you just gave up. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, let me ask you a question then. Jimmy G or Tua?
Jimmy G, 100%. 100%.
Okay. Do you see any comparisons between the two? Between Jimmy G and Tua? Because that's kind of I see.
See, here's the thing with
him. I see.
I hear you. And the problem with Jimmy G, polite, you said?
A light.
Oh,
he's a light version. Yeah.
I was going to say polite. No, that's one. I'm a big sucker for I'm a sucker for good people. So I like Tua, you can just tell he's a good guy. Jimmy Garoppolo just seems like a very nice guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you look at that situation and it's like, I would be much more willing to root for Tua before I rooted for Baker Mayfield. Yeah, 100%.
Easily.
You know what I mean? Like that's just a no-brainer to me. But I'm taking Jimmy G. And the reason I'm taking Jimmy G is because I've seen that with talent surrounding me, with a great roster, Jimmy G, he's going to win you games.
Yeah.
I mean, he might blow it in the end. He might make a bonehead play. But I'll tell you what, he got the 49ers a hell of a lot farther than Miami has even come close to getting, and he's done it numerous times. Jimmy G, you can dog him all you want. And I know he didn't play well and he didn't do much of anything, but he went into Lambeau. Okay. I know it wasn't, it wasn't in credit of him. Okay. But he still went into Lambeau and won a playoff game to move on to the NFC Championship a season ago. And I got to ask you this right now, Rev. If Tua is the quarterback of the 49ers last year, or if Tua is the quarterback in that situation, I won't even say, I'm just saying a hypothetical here. If Tua is the quarterback that has to go in to a situation, must win playoff, is there any possible way you see that coming to fruition?
No,
I can't picture it.
Not right now until just because he's so young and we haven't seen a whole lot of him. I mean, if we're going to compare apples to apples here, I mean, Jimmy G has got way more experience, and so it goes back to what you had said earlier about Jimmy G, about how he's got talent around him. Well, has Tua really had that around him? Now he does, and I think now we're going to see what he can do. Mike McDaniels, remember OC in San Fran, bringing the same offense. He was there with Jimmy G, and then
that guy kind of scares me, man.
Yes, and
he's got a vibe to him. Like he just seems like he's got it down.
He knows what he's doing. And then now you look at adding Tyreek Hill. Who was the dog that Mike McDaniels and Kyle Shanahan had in San Francisco that they just targeted and was the dude? I mean, you give him the ball anywhere.
Good point.
Debo Samuel. Now
that Swiss Army, you're right. That's a good point.
Knife. Now you look at Tyreek Hill in that offense, kind of being that kind of a guy, that weapon. I think he's more dynamic potentially than Debo Samuel, just because of a speed and quickness and agility factor. He's not as big, obviously, but he can. I mean, you put him in the backfield like that. You put him, the end arounds. You feed him the ball, the short crossers. He's got speed. I mean, what more does Tua have to do? He's not asked to actually win the game. He's only asked to manage it, just like Jimmy G really has been. I mean, when you consider the weapons that he has and Debo Samuel, George Kittle, and the running game, I would say that now Miami has probably more weapons offensively than San Francisco has. When you look at Jalen Waddle, young stud, you got Tyreek Hill, the best.
I mean, they're loaded, no question.
Mike Gesicki, Chase Edmunds, they're going to run. So I think, and this is where I would pause. I think that Tua is going to have the ability to be successful, but I don't think you're ever going to rely on Tua to be that guy to win you the game like Josh Allen's going to put the team on his shoulders. I think you have to have the team around him to support him and elevate him. And so that's where I think that, he may do okay, but we just haven't seen it with the talent around him. He's had a bad go of it. I mean, he hasn't.
I agree with you.
Really been fair. So I'm anxious to see what he's going to do now. Am I afraid of the Dolphins? Right. No, I'm not afraid of them. Do I respect the talent and what they have? Absolutely. And so we're just gonna have to see what's gonna happen now.
And there, I'm in complete agreement with you as Silas comes in. And again, appreciate you, Silas. You the man. Dolphins have so much speed on offense. Yeah, they do. And I'm worried because we haven't addressed our speed on defense. Tua was great with elite talent in Alabama. He was, absolutely was, no question about it. So was every single Alabama quarterback prior to him. And, we all know how those have panned out in the past and how it usually winds up happening. With that said, though, I don't want this lost in translation. Miami has got some damn talent. I'm not looking at Miami like I look at the Jets. Okay. I don't want that loss in it. What I'm saying here is I just think that when I look at the Dolphins move, it's not a move in getting Tyreek Hill. That's not a move that is overwhelmingly intelligent to me. And that's why I think Kansas City wins it, because I think that is a desperate play to try to get better when in reality, everybody in that organization knows if Tua even has a mediocre to below average year, they're moving on or they're going to have to at least look into it. Not that they already haven't been, right?
Yeah. Right.
So why pay when you already do have a significant amount of weapons? Why pay the most money anybody in the league's ever paid for a wide receiver in the hopes that winds up being the absolute difference maker for Miami? That's how I see it. And don't get me wrong, and I can't emphasize this enough. Tyreek Hill on the Dolphins, they're immediately a better team, no question. You have to defend him differently. You have to look at him completely differently when you have a guy like that on the field. But the way I look at it is that what Miami did is essentially put together an incredibly great weaponry with a guy that has been unable to prove that he can utilize the tools. And we've seen this before. It's very tough to win that way. And now at least, and when I talk about Tua, the reason I have it's not even that I dislike him. It's just I look at the AFC and find me the quarterback that he's starting over on almost any other roster. Right. That's the thing. Right. You know what I mean? Right. That's why the whole Tyreek Hill thing, for me at least, for Kansas City, it made sense because if that was the Bills, I mean, if the Bills had Tyreek Hill, it would suck as hell to lose him, no question. Yeah. But when you look at the amount of money that the Chiefs are going to have to shell out for guys coming up here, and it's coming up soon, getting rid of that while at the same time loading up picks to potentially, at least you could use those picks to then go get another guy. Like
exactly.
we were talking about, all over the place.
Yeah.
So that
they
to
could
me,
be the team that gets your boy Jahan Dotson.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and the other thing too, I mean, Tyreek, no question about it. I still believe he's the top guy to me. Like, that's a guy that if you gave any GM in the league, like if you were drafting like you would at recess, to go ahead and pick a guy to be on your team, he's right there towards the top after all the quarterbacks are taken. And when I look at Mahomes is going to be just fine. They're not going to be as explosive. They're not going to be able to do the same things that perhaps worked in the past, the dink and dunk, stuff like that, to the degree in which it succeeded in, right? Yeah. But when you look at the Chiefs roster, do you really look at them going into the season and saying they're that much worse? No, they're a little less explosive, but they still are packed up. And that's why I would much rather take having to deal with Tyreek under Tua's watch during the regular season, as opposed to having to deal with that with Mahomes and the rest of the clan again in the playoffs.
100%, 100%. And you know what? I mean, the Chiefs, no doubt. As long as they have Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid there coaching, they're going to be fine. I'm looking at their own division. I think they're going to beat each other up. That's what
they're going to eat each other alive. They're going to have to.
Yeah,
that to me is why I was. Rev, as soon as the Bills lost that game, the Chiefs last year, to me, it was like, and this, it's still true up until I'm proven different, but that was the best shot to win the Super Bowl ever. Right. And I was so down. I was so down for the longest time after that game. But as the offseason started to unfold, it started to become more clear to me. The better that these teams got within their own division, the more it seems like the one seed for the Bills has never been in a better spot. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Exactly, because you look at this, just what's happened in the AFC West. Devontae Adams now joining them,
and that right there, that's a perfect example of a move, because he was the highest paid wide receiver before Tyreek. That to me is a move that makes sense. Like, I like Derek Carr. He can utilize the weapon.
Yes.
That's absolutely where it makes sense to me, right?
Yeah.
And in that division, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to do it.
Forget this is gonna be like the Big 12, in college football. I mean, defense, forget defense. I mean,
you're right. Yeah, no question.
Putting up points. Whoever has the ball last is gonna win the game. You have to match point for point. And so, and then they get the quarterbacks in that division. Oh my gosh! So I'm sitting here as a Bills fan, looking at the AFC East, looking like, okay, we're good in the East. And look at the West. And you're like, these guys, they're gonna beat each other up. I don't know what's going to happen in that division. It's going to be tough for could we see like three of those teams make it? I think they're just going to destroy each other. And by the time we get into playoffs, Buffalo's going to be sitting pretty in the 1 or 2 seed.
I guess the best way that we can sum up this whole talk here about the Miami and what Tyreek does to them and where it puts them in the respect category. Let's look at it this way, Rev. We just had a 20-minute conversation about Miami being the biggest threat to the Bills. Imagine being in the division where the worst quarterback is Derek Carr. I mean, you look at the Bills division right now, the gap is so seismic.
Yes.
At the quarterback position between Josh Allen and anybody else in that division, that the fact that we're even having the argument about Miami being the threat is hilarious.
It really is.
That to me is why I don't get worried. Because yes, they are better. And even if I'm not expecting the Bills aren't going to, they can't sweep the division every year. You know what I mean? But even if they don't, man, I'd bet my life today. I would do it today with absolutely no regret. Bet my life they win the division. Wouldn't even give it a second thought. Give it a second thought.
Same.
And when you look at like what you were talking about, eating alive, I'm telling you, that to me, it's amazing how what used to be the division that it was cursed. Tom Brady's here and we'll never be able to get out. Now it's dude, could you be in a better position flipped right now than the Bills are in the AFC East? You could.
It's flipped. So now we're that dog. Now we're that team who's looking like, we've got Josh Allen and you guys, good luck. Good luck for the next 10 years. Good luck.
And that's how it was when Brady was the quarterback with the Patriots. Look at how bad. Outside of a couple of Jets runs, everybody was piss Poor, bad,
Yes.
the entire. And you don't think, you know how much that contributed to Tom Brady's success being in the AFC East for that long? The ability to just get to win that many more games against bottom.
Just on default.
I mean, it's game changing.
Yeah.
Just
100%. Just by default. You know, with Tom Brady going into every season, looking at the rest of the division, you know, guys, we've got the division. I mean, so we're easily going to be division winners. We're going to be in the playoffs, at least the top 4 seed every year. Every year. That made his path a whole lot easier.
Yeah. And when you look at it through that lens, that's what makes me so much more confident going into this season. That's not even considering what they've done to their own team, the Bills. It's just the surrounding circumstances.
Yes. Yeah.
That is so crucial. And the fact that in the AFC West, I can't get over it. I can't get over it. I cannot get over that division. It is just, it's absurd. And the fact that Derek Carr and Devontae Adams are considered the worst team in that conference. And we're over here talking about the second best team being Tua and Tyreek Hill is, I mean, dude, we couldn't be more blessed. I swear to God, we couldn't be in a better position.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I'm just like, I'm fortunate. I'm glad that we finally, in the driver's seat in the AFC East, and we can look at those other teams and like, you know what, man, hey, good luck. But I've got a question for you, Bato. Now, since we're talking about the AFC West,
lay it on me. Let's go.
Man, do you think there should be a realignment in the conference? Knowing how lopsided the AFC is,
hell no.
And for the talk to me, man.
The reason why is the reason we just talked about for a bit. If there was ever going to be a realignment, the Bills should have been realigned before Tom Brady decided to put the wrath of God into us for 20 years. Where was that realignment? You know what I mean? Yeah. If anything should be realigned, though, it should be shuffling up NFC and AFC teams to make it a bit more. I mean, dude, that's the thing. Like if the NFC took the year off this year, the NFL would still get the highest rating it's ever gotten.
Easily.
It's all AFC.
We got all the quarterbacks.
It's not even close. Like who gives a damn? But that also to me it makes me sick. Brady's walking to an NFC championship minimum. Minimum.
You know that. He was looking around the NFC. He's like, man, I could probably sneak in here easily and compete for another championship.
You're not kidding, man. He's sitting there retired like, dude. I mean, I had to get through Roethlisberger and Manning, and you're telling me right now all I got to get through is a Devontae-less Rodgers and then I mean because you're not playing both. It's either the Rams or the Packers. You're more than likely not playing both. Mm-hmm. So
Russell Wilson is no longer in the conference.
Exactly. And the disparity is insane. And the crazy thing that I always keep coming back to about it is the AFC has gotten this much better. And this entire time, it hasn't bothered me. It's so odd. It hasn't bothered me. I'm excited about it. It's weird.
It's because it's the Josh Allen effect, man. When you have,
imagine being excited about imagine just being excited about being like playing better teams. Yeah. That's a weird. That is weird.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you're right. Yeah. Like that's what it is. It's like whatever. It's
man. I mean, I'm not afraid of it. The only thing that gives me kind of a little bit of concern is simply our lack of cornerback depth. That is it, really. I mean, and even at that, I think we can probably scheme some things around. And if need be, we're gonna win a shootout. If it came down to it, if we needed to do divisional round again, have a shootout match. I mean, so be it. I mean, as long as Josh Allen is back there, and he's got the weaponry that he has, I mean, I really couldn't care what the defense does, to be honest.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I couldn't give a damn if he shows up for even like half the year next year. The way he showed up in both those playoff games, you better pray for anybody. I don't care who it is. I mean, pray to God. Dude, I did what I said I'd never do, and it just kind of cycled through the other day. But I didn't watch the game, but I watched the highlights of Allen from that game.
Oh man, yeah.
And obviously in the moment, I knew what he had pulled off. I knew how great it was, but God, it was so tough to appreciate it. Dude, watching those highlights, man. That's why I keep when I talk about the Tua thing and I talk about New England sucking. If you don't have that, okay, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You are screwed in this conference. Deshaun Watson can do that. Mahomes can do that. Allen can do that. Herbert can do that.
Yep.
Burrow he's not as athletic in my opinion, but he has shown clearly he can do that.
Healthy Lamar Jackson coming back.
Bingo. Here's my question for you, because I'm interested in this. Because I was talking to somebody earlier about the Ravens. It's amazing how quick 1 year will change where they have a bunch of injuries and everybody forgot about them. And I haven't forgotten about them. Nah,
me neither.
They'll be back. 100%. My question for you: you get your 7 playoff teams. Who's the one team for you that gets left out of the equation where people would say, "Damn, you got them missing the playoffs"?
Oh my God!
Because it's going to happen to one of these teams. It's going to have to the way it's laid out.
Man, that is a tough question, man.
I know it's tough. It's tough for me. I think about it all the time. I'm like, who's going to, because it's going to come down to a team, and this could easily happen. Like 11-6, and like you're on the outside looking in. Whereas in the NFC, dude, a losing record easily could get you in. Easily.
Well, okay. Well, let's go through the exercise. All right. So let's talk about the division leaders. Okay. Bills.
Yep.
In the East, the North. Who do you want to pick there? God, I mean, I would go with the Ravens. If they come back healthy, you've got Lamar Jackson. The competition could.
It all depends on Deshaun Watson's situation.
Absolutely,
100%. But 100%. I'm gonna go with what I guarantee happens, and he's not playing the first month minimum.
Yeah,
so I agree with you. I will take Ravens.
Okay,
I will take Ravens.
All right, AFC North, South. I mean, come on. I mean, really, that's tough with the Titans. I mean, I don't know if
it is tough. I got to tell you, I'm out on the Titans, man. That playoff loss was just abysmal. Like, and that it stuck in my craw so much worse knowing that like had the Bills just got it done in Nashville, the game would have been home again. Because dude, they are just it was an utter choke job, and they did the same thing the year prior against Baltimore. It's just a complete collapse. I look at Indy. I think they're significantly. We haven't even mentioned Matt Ryan. We haven't even mentioned it.
I forgot about Matt Ryan.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
I'm sitting here trying to think. I was going to ask who's their quarterback.
I know.
Matt Ryan. Okay.
I'll take the Colts. The Colts.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you. Okay. Colts. South. You got it. All right. So now we got the West. Man.
His mouth, by the way, he said Ravens are done. He's not believing in us.
Oh, Ismail, come on, man. No, the whole team was injured.
Dude, they were playing with guys off the street last year.
It was like somebody put a curse on them. Like these guys were dropping like flies throughout the camp. I mean, come on now,
dude. It was their whole team was a legitimate. It was one of those voodoo dolls. Everybody was dropping. Just
everybody. Everybody. It's like, man, you know what? Just don't even play this year. It's a wash. 2021 is a wash. You bring them guys back healthy. Come on now.
No question.
Let's come on. Ishmael, you're tripping. I appreciate you $2 though, but you tripping.
Dude, you know who's tripping is us. I just thought about it, bro. This whole time we were talking about quarterbacks, I swear to God, until we even mentioned the Colts, didn't even enter my mind Matt Ryan's in the AFC.
Never.
Dude, this is what I'm saying. This is so insane. It's so crazy.
Matt Ryan is man. Look, he can get it done. Now, granted,
he can get it done.
Granted, I mean, he's not athletic, right? You got to have a line in front of him, which they do. Okay,
they needed a veteran and they got it. I thought Wentz was going to be it, but clearly, I just don't think he's got the character that I thought he did. I thought he was a leader guy, and it just doesn't seem like he is.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that guy, man. I had high hopes for Wentz, but anyway, we'll see what happens in Washington.
So we got Colts, Ravens, Bills. Toughest question of the night, Rev.
Yeah,
you still got the Chiefs on top in the West, or somebody else taking it?
Man, I don't think I do. Man, gosh, this is tough because
it is tougher than hell.
I like the Chargers, man.
Me too, dude. Big time.
I'm in love with Herbert. Okay.
so much,
Herbert
dude. I love him so
oh
much.
my gosh, man.
I love him,
Herbert, dude.
Me too. I
Herbert
absolutely
is
love him.
I think people are like, they're just sleeping on Herbert. I mean, this guy,
He is so fun to watch.
Look, he can do what Allen can do. The only thing for me that I look at Herbert, I'm saying, like, dude, if you can use your legs when you need to at times, because sometimes I think he just stays in the pocket too long, and he can get it done. But I'm like, dude, you're athletic as all get out. If
Bill Mafia hit, man. He thinks we're cheating on Allen, by the way. It's okay. It's okay.
Man. It's all right, guys.
I would never take him over Allen, but I love how Rev like totally
Never.
hit a heartstring with me there because I'm like, dude, I freaking love Herbert, dude.
I love him too, man.
He's a
you gotta respect him. You have to respect him, man. But he's a great young quarterback. Oh my gosh. And now you look at the talent. They've got talent, okay, across the offense, but now their defense. I love what they did. I mean, you got Joey Bosa. They added Khalil Mack.
They're loaded, dude. Oh. It's insane. You want to know the reason I also love Herbert is because he, to me, felt like the guy who could be a huge pain in the ass for Mahomes. And that's why I kind of fell in love with them, because I found myself twice a year rooting heavy for them against the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. And you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's always like for me, it was always, I always rooted for Big Ben heavy when they played the Patriots.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand the Steelers, but like because those were always huge games, you know? And I just remember getting huge up like for, the Steelers and stuff like that. But no, you're damn right, dude. And I think when it comes to the Chargers, I've just been so shocked at their inability to get over the hump based on the talent level they have. And it's not like Herbert's, at fault. I don't know necessarily know what to do.
They had some coaching blunders there.
They definitely did
mistakes.
Yeah,
that really hurt them. But they've got the talent to compete and really knock off Mahomes and come out on top in that division. So I would pick the Chargers.
I like the Chargers. I do.
And then I would pick, we're not going number 2, but I think the Raiders can really give the Chiefs some fits too. I mean, because that team, oh my gosh, that team is loaded as well.
I wouldn't sleep on them for a second.
No, not at all. Not at all. So we've got those top 4. Oh, let's see what Ismail's talking about.
Ismail's saying he's just out on the Ravens, man. He wanted to double down real quick. He wanted to make sure you knew. Look at I ever since we have proved that our defense can stop whatever they throw at us, the Ravens, which is 100% accurate. They don't scare me like they did when Lamar won the MVP, but they're not a team to think that last year is going to be repeated. They are going to be right there.
They're going to be in the conversation. So at the end of the day, I mean, we'll probably see them in the playoffs. And so we got those 4 guys, right? Those 4 teams. Now let's talk about the final 3.
And that, to me,
it has to come out of the
Chiefs.
West. The Chiefs, right? So we got 5.
I gotta give it to Russell Wilson personally.
Oh gosh, how can I forget about the Broncos?
That's what I'm saying. That dude, it's a mind F. It's a mind F.
That team on paper, man, they are very good on paper. You add Russell Wilson to that equation, I mean, they can compete. So yeah.
Well, while we're on the topic of confessing love, I absolutely love Russell Wilson. He is my favorite player in the league outside of Buffalo. Pains me that he's in the AFC now, because it was always easy to root for an NFC guy, because it's like, okay, who cares? No threat to us.
Right.
I love him. I just love him. He is the greatest role model in all of sports. I love that dude. And he was not being properly utilized towards the end of Seattle there, and they are going to get him cruising. Dude, I can't get over this shit. Like, the more we talk about it, it's just insanity.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. How do you rule one of these teams out?
I don't know. Like, how many teams are going to come out of the West and be in the playoffs? I mean, we got what the Chiefs and the Broncos. So we got 3 teams out of the 4.
Let's just, for the sake of argument, remove the East. Let's just say Tua, another bad year. I think the Patriots are down bad. Jets, hilarious.
They're not coming. Yeah. Okay. So we got what?
We move on to the North. This is where it gets tricky to me. I think Pittsburgh's good with Trubisky. I do. Yeah. Pittsburgh was a playoff team last year with Big Ben.
Beat down Ben.
God bless him, man. I mean, he belonged in a wheelchair last year. The poor guy couldn't even move, and they made the playoffs. I think Trubisky elevates him. That, to me, I mean, think about it like this, Rev. Steelers with that roster, same exact roster, NFC, guaranteed playoff team.
Mhm.
Guaranteed playoff team.
Well, now they don't have Juju now, so I mean,
But they have their defense is intact as always.
Yeah,
I think they
defense is
have
solid.
immediately upgraded at quarterback. They got Najee. They do have enough weaponry, in my opinion, to be a threat. And they were with Big Ben, who couldn't throw the ball more than 5 yards. So
I see what you're saying.
But what I'm saying here is,
oh man,
I look at them to be a pretty decent team, and I'm like, how do you even wrap your head around fitting them in?
They may be the oh gosh, man, this is so hard.
That's to say, and that's not even considering the fact that, okay, let's say Deshaun gets 4 games. I think he gets 6. Let's say he gets 4. Let's say he gets 4. Schedule winds up working out in their favor. They go 2-2 during that time. Okay.
Yeah.
Then what? Because then it's going to have to be, if the Ravens are back to where they were 2 seasons ago, I mean, you're talking about that division too. It's not the West, but that division's pretty damn loaded.
It's still competitive. It's always been competitive.
Yeah, it always has. You're right, but it's still right there. It's still right there.
God. So yeah, oh man,
how great does this make you feel being in the East? Like the more we talk about it, it's just, dude, it's like chilling on the sideline watching people just fight to the death.
Exactly. And I'm just gonna be sitting here like, look, as long as our guys stay healthy, we are gonna.
That's all it comes down to. You're right. You're right,
wood, baby.
And that's why you can't sleep on the Ravens, man. Because look at, dude, that's what happens when your team gets decimated. It's just you're screwed. You're screwed. You're not going to be able to overcome that. Same with us. You think people would sleep on the Bills if Allen went down and they had to rely on Case Keenum for the season? Like you can't be looking at it like that.
No.
I mean, they had Brett Hundley playing quarterback, and they weren't even half bad. I mean, it was they weren't the Ravens, but they were still somewhat competitive.
Somewhat competitive. Yeah.
So
and because Josh Allen is so great, if he goes down, I mean, any backup quarterback is gonna. I mean, there's a great gulf, and so we're gonna see a significant drop off.
Yeah.
And man, I'm afraid I don't even want to have that discussion.
So have we decided what have we decided?
I don't think we have. I think we just
no.
kind of.
I got to be honest, Rob. I'm scared to death to do it. I don't even know how to do it. I'm scared to death to say it.
All right. So let's say. All right, so we got the division leaders. Okay, let's put in. Golly.
And too, the division leaders. Just the way it works. One of those is going to be screwed up too, because something weird's going to happen, and then the whole thing is going to be screwed. That's the thing. Like I'm thinking to myself.
Tennessee could miss it.
We haven't even talked about Tennessee. We're talking about Tennessee, right? Or the Colts, vice versa. Yeah. Whoever loses that division, both teams good enough.
Yeah.
Clearly be a playoff team.
I think, I mean, now that I'm kind of thinking out loud here, you look Ryan Tannehill. I mean, AJ Brown, great. Yeah.
Derrick Henry.
Yeah, but I mean, no Julio, but still, I mean,
I'm out on him for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
They could be on the outside looking in, and I would absolutely love it.
Me too, because for some reason they're just a pain in the ass for us.
They get under my skin, man.
They piss me off too. That COVID game where they ran it up on us, man. That got me. I mean,
I was heated.
That was gross. Is Mel coming in again? By the way,
come on,
dude.
Mel.
He is tripling down on the Ravens. Tripling down, Rev. Are you seeing this? That's a triple down. Ravens have lost so many players. Tell you what, man, the Lamar situation is very interesting to me. I don't know what is going on over there. I don't understand what's going on. Makes no sense to me.
I mean, is it a legitimate concern, or are people kind of like just pontificating, just putting stuff out there?
I think it's fair. I think it's fair to pontificate, which I love that word. Fantastic choice.
You love it.
I freaking love it. I think it's fair to pontificate. If they haven't paid him, the question is why, and that would be: are they considering moving him? Are they considering?
There's no way, man.
That's what I'm hearing, and I felt the same way. But Rev, ask yourself that same question: why are they paying him, and why isn't he agreeing to the payment? Because I've heard rumblings that there has been some sort of deal put in place that he hasn't agreed to terms to.
Well, I think, let's consider this. It makes sense for the Ravens right now to put a deal out before him understanding that he's had a year off due to injury, so his value is not where it should be. Maybe he's betting on himself. He's like, I'm
quadruple down. Pause, Rev. Quadruple down from Ishmael.
Ishmael.
I gotta give Ishmael credit, man.
Hey,
that's the biggest Ravens hater I've ever seen in my life, and I gotta give him credit. I mean, a quad down, Rev.
Come on, man.
A quad down.
At least he's consistent.
That's legendary.
He's consistent.
Oh, he's beyond consistent. I love it.
But I still like Lamar, Ishmael. I don't care what you say.
Me too.
And I think he's betting on himself. He's like, all right, I'm gonna come back this year, and have a phenomenal comeback year, and even boost my stock. I mean, think about we talk about Matt Ryan. Isn't it kind of similar, right? When Matt Ryan was dealing with this contract situation, and then he didn't, it didn't get worked out. And then he won a Super Bowl and got paid after that.
Right. I think that was Baker's mentality, and he's paying the price.
No, well, Baker absolutely is.
And I look at that situation too. There's so many interesting things. I look at that, and I'm dying to see where he goes, by the way, because I was convinced he was going to be the Colts quarterback, because I didn't foresee Matt Ryan moving. And I think the Deshaun Watson rumors just completely severed the relationship with Matt Ryan. It was a mutual agreement. They were done there. I thought he was going to be the Colts quarterback. The fact that weird to me, because, he's one of those guys. He's the opposite of Lamar Jackson in the sense that he, to me, didn't deserve to be paid in the coming contract year like Allen had already done and Mahomes the year prior. He hadn't earned it. The thing for me that I question with the whole Ravens situation, if they felt about him the way that teams feel about franchise quarterbacks, and this is inevitable to me. And this is why I was so confused about the Dak Prescott situation in Dallas, because they franchise tagged him, and it was a whole shitstorm just to wind up giving him a gigantic bag at the time.
Right.
If the Ravens truly felt the way that the Bills feel about Josh Allen and all the way up the ladder when it comes to organizations and their quarterbacks, I think it would have been done. So back to the pontification. I genuinely believe there's something there. I don't know what the hell it is, but it's got to be something.
So they've offered him something. I just think that he's
on himself. This is once again, I got
part of the pontification.
It's part of the pontification. It's something I heard. Somebody was pontificating that particular pontification.
And so we pontificated back.
And meanwhile, by the way, Lamar the other day, he's got one of the funniest Twitters I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
You see what he said to that kid the other day on Twitter about Madden? Oh my God. So this dude tweets him. He goes, "I played as you in Madden, lost by 110." And Lamar responded to him, That means your ass. Go play some 2K."
Go play.
So he seems pretty unbothered.
Yeah,
he seems pretty unbothered.
Yeah, he's
what I mean,
man. And
Ishmael, hey, this is something we can all agree on here, right here. I think we can all call a truce here. Okay.
Hey, Ishmael, let's shake hands. We agree on that one.
Bingo. Perfect.
Even though I'm an OU fan and I like Baker when he was in college, I think he did great, but he was a system guy.
You know what? Hey, so did I, by the way. I loved him. You want to know why I loved him? Because the cocky attitude works when you are great. It sucks when you're not.
You're not.
And he was great in OU, so it was fun to watch. Oh, he was great.
He came in thinking that he was great, and he came in and just got humble pie.
And he never ate the humble pie, by the way.
He never ate it.
Thing. It's okay coming in cocky. I understand that. Why wouldn't you? You should believe in yourself. No question about it. Especially him. He's always been ruled out and, walk on this, that, the other thing. But once you get punched in the mouth and realize that you got some proving to do, you got to look in the mirror, man. That's why, dude, like when I say I love Justin Herbert, when I say I love Russell Wilson, why we all love Josh Allen, it's the reason right there, because you are that good and you don't necessarily even think of yourself that way. And if you do, you keep it to your damn self.
Right.
The way it should be. The way it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly right.
Humble. It goes a long way. And Baker, he hasn't humbled himself yet. So we'll see.
And he never will. That's the situation.
That's part of his character, right? That's
why he's not on the team right now.
Yeah.
He'd be on if he had the same character. Well, for one, if he wasn't who he was, he'd still be the Browns quarterback. Let's face it. I mean, they would give him another year. I truly believe that. But the situation had become so ridiculous. They had no other choice. I mean, it was either we give Lamar or we give Deshaun all this money, or we go into a season where, you know, once again, Baker is the main storyline of I want to trade. And it's like, I mean, everybody's pissed at the Browns for the move they made and all the guaranteed money. But when you look at their situation, and not saying that I advocate for it or I agree with it, but it makes a lot of sense. What were they supposed to do? It was done with Baker. Done.
Yeah.
And everybody
was already on the wall. Yeah.
No question.
Yeah, he had to be moved on. Lossman was cocky too. Ishmael, man.
Well, great example.
He was.
Yeah, and that turned out extraordinary for our boy JP. Yeah. Extraordinary.
That could be a similar career path.
Well, I mean, listen, I don't think Baker's half the player JP was, Rev. You got to give a little bit of credit to Lossman. I mean,
Lossman, you know what?
Put some respect on that boy's name.
I liked Lossman. I did.
You know what? For me,
and that more than Ryan Braun.
I was more of a Trent Edwards guy. God, what a sick, disgusting existence that was. You know what? And outside of Fitzpatrick and Tyrod, who are like legitimate starters, my favorite journeyman quarterback for the Bills all time, Kyle Orton. No debate.
Yeah,
I loved him because he just came out. He didn't care about being in Buffalo. He was just there to, you know, run up another check and sling the ball before he retired. And I loved it because he didn't give a damn. He was on the sidelines packing lips, just chucking the ball down the field. He didn't give a damn. And it was funny because like none of us really cared either, because at that point we just, you know, what are you going to do?
We're bad. Yeah, we knew we were bad.
Throw it up, throw the ball up in the air.
Yeah.
Travis coming in. He's saying, I'm thinking Josh is the best Bills player I've ever seen since Bruce Smith back in the day. Well, I'll tell you this right now, Travis. I never got to see Bruce Smith, unfortunately. And I can tell you, Josh Allen, it's not even close. At least for you, you have the ability to compare Josh Allen to other great Bills of the past that you've witnessed. Do you guys think Josh is a top 5 player in the NFL already? Oh, in history or right now?
I'm assuming he's talking about right now.
Right now, yeah, no question about it. You could argue 1 or 2 if you wanted to.
Right.
All time, Travis. Listen, I love Josh Allen as much as the next guy, but
I'm not putting him in
all the time. I'll let you know when I put him in the all-time conversation. The second I do that is the second we're hosting that trophy over. He could lose every game the rest of his life. I'll put him in all time. He'll be number 1 player in the history of the league to me. So no debate about it. No question. There's no comment on that. Jesus, Fred, we're going on 2 hours. I got to wrap this up. But before we do, I haven't talked about the new stadium yet, and I wanted to touch on that real quick. Your initial thoughts when the deal got made and it was official, out with the old, and when we say old, and by the way, ironically enough, I saw on Twitter today from at Buffalo History, 50 years ago today, the ground was broken to build the OG stadium. And I got to tell you, man, I accepted it, obviously, because I knew it was inevitable and it's necessary because it's just you have to do it. I mean, everything like that happens, but I can't lie to you. I'm sad as hell about it. Like the initial thought to me, Rev, was thinking about being in the same parking lot, you know, or the same area, but walking into a stadium that isn't the Ralph for the first time, at least, or the first few times. Yeah. That is going to be weird, man. Yeah. Weird. Yeah. I can't wrap my head around it still. It doesn't feel real, you know?
And then the fact that they're going to tear it down too, that's makes it even kind of, you know, harder to digest, you know. But,
I might need to go and just salute while they do it, you know, stand on the side and just
you got one of these. Have a little something on your hand. Yeah, absolutely, man. You got to do it, man. But you know what? I think what would make it so much better, and I guess would just encapsulate all of it, man, is another good word. All of these years, you know what I'm saying? Is
I couldn't even pronounce Houday earlier, and you're bringing out the thesaurus tonight, putting me to shame. God damn.
Is if we win a Super Bowl before we walk into the new stadium.
Right, which is what I titled this, and thank you for actually referencing it that I failed to do within 2 hours. Let me hear the thought, Rev. Let me hear the thought.
You know what? Look,
because that's a hell of a question, because you got to think the window between both.
Yes,
it's a perfect lineup.
It's a perfect.
Yeah, it's weird.
Do I see us? Man, I absolutely see us winning it before the new stadium is built. I see us winning multiple. I can see us winning a couple of them. I mean, we were so close, but this team has tasted it, man. We've tasted it, and when you get a taste of something so great, oh my gosh, man, that taste is never gonna leave.
Dude, Rev, that taste, that gigantic taste before the 13 seconds, like how good was that taste, bro? That taste was the sweetest taste I've ever tasted.
Can I tell you something, man? During that game, man, my family would tell you, man, I was like, I was going nuts. And my neighbors outside, man, they see me because I was screaming at the top of my lungs at every exchange when Josh Allen came back. And how many lead changes was that? I mean, how many times did he have to win the game? Anyway, I don't want to go back to all of that.
Either, but think about it, though. Think about that feeling, though. Think about that feeling, because I experienced the same one.
When Gabe Davis...
And then crank that up to like 11, bro.
Yes, easily. Man, look.
I don't even know. I don't even know.
Let me tell you like this. I'm
Ishmael
going to
still
be
killing it.
crying.
Saying this year.
There we go, Ishmael. Come on, now you're
Dude's
redeeming
on fire
yourself.
now. Absolutely,
you're redeeming yourself, Ishmael. I'm glad you're finally seeing things that the way they should be seen. And so. All
right, give it to me, Rev. I need to hear the explanation.
Look, the Buffalo Bills this year are going to be that team to be reckoned with. This team is going to win a Super Bowl. And it's not far away. It's not some 3-4 years down the road. It's right now. And if not for a coaching blunder of the, I don't know what you want to call it, just the worst decision that you can make. Buffoonery, absolute buffoonery.
Any word in there that describes blatant awfulness.
Ridiculous. I mean, because look, but there was no team in the playoffs that wanted to see the Bills, especially if we were going to win the game against the Chiefs. When Josh Allen threw that should-be game-winning touchdown to Gabe Davis and won the game before the 13 seconds.
How about Gabe Davis?
Every team was in there, was shaking in their boots. They're like, man, look, we don't want to see the Bills. We got to go to Buffalo and play them in the championship game. We would have blown the brakes off of every single team, and we would have been hoisting the Lombardi Trophy right now. That's how closely we were because of a stupid, ridiculous coaching decision. But nevertheless, this is a new year, a new leaf. Yes, the AFC has gotten more talented, but look, Josh Allen is still the quarterback. Stephon Diggs is still the wide receiver. We still have talent on this team. Before we even got into the draft, we added more players. We added Von Miller, the closer, the finisher to that house that's being built. Okay. Teams are looking at the Buffalo Bills, and look at what happened in the free agency. They are making moves to compete with the Buffalo Bills. They're looking at the Bills, and they're like, look, we have to compete with that guy. We got to compete with Josh Allen. We got to compete with Stephon Diggs. We got to compete with that team right now. If we don't, they are going to destroy us. And look, I don't care what they do. You can sign Devontae Adams. You can do all of this kind of stuff you want to do. At the end of the day, Josh Allen is that guy. Your quarterback ain't Josh Allen, period, hands down. And I think he's going to go absolutely nuclear this year.
Love that.
He's going to make his point. He's gonna make it a point to show everybody who he was. Oh, you want to pick Aaron Rodgers to be the MVP? That's all good. I'm that dude. I'm gonna win his championship. Let Aaron Rodgers win the MVP and keep on getting bounced in the playoffs all he wants to. This is my year. This is our year. Buffalo Bills, stand up. This is the time. And we're going to win that championship, and then we're going to do the salute, baby, as we watch the Ralph go down. But we're not going to be crying. We're not going to be sad because we got the championship that we're hoisting up, and we've got all of the Bills Mafia all around the world, all of the players past, future and current, standing there, locked in arms, side by side, looking at this team, the 90s team, the Hall of Famers, the greats, and we are going to win that championship. Don't you forget that I said it right here. Watch what's going to happen. The Buffalo Bills are that team to be reckoned with. And we're blowing the brakes out of everybody this year. You heard it. Bam. Mic drop. Is that enough for you, bot? How you feel, man? Look, man. It's so much smoke, man. The bot froze up. Bot froze up.
Don't boo. Oh,
there he is.
Thank God. Oh, I mean, I was praying. I said, you can't kick me out now. You can't kick me out after that. Because I was in the middle of saying that I think Rev just channeled some sort of divine entity right there. That was some sort of divine intervention. That was, I mean, I don't even know what we were talking about. I don't even know what we were talking about, because that went somewhere that I think what they're going to need to do is they're going to need to get that on some sort of, they're going to need to clip it. By they, I mean we, because I don't know who else would do it, but we're going to need to clip it. And then we're going to need to just get that into the stadium and then played on the loudspeaker every single time the Bills run out on the field.
Come on, man.
And then I need to listen to that when I wake up. I need to listen to that before I go to bed, because that right there was one of the greatest sermons I've ever heard in my life. That was a sermon. I mean, that was preaching. I don't know what that was.
Man. Look, hey, you
but
fired me up,
still
man.
remains, Rev. The question still remains, because I remember what we were talking about. Do the Bills win a Super Bowl before that new stadium opens?
Yes. That's what
I had a feeling. I had a feeling the answer was yes.
Absolutely.
And it's because a JA-17, the Winter Soldier, is coming.
That's right.
That is a fact.
I
know. Dog 26, Winter Soldier. Jay Allen outdueled Jay Herbert in the AFC Championship. I can tell you right now, I'm all in on that.
Absolutely.
Give me anybody else with the goddamn Chiefs. Yeah, right here. Look. Jason said Z-Bot froze up. He was so enthralled. Yeah, no, that speech was so intense. It came through my speakers and just absolutely destroyed any connection in here to anything other than just divine intervention.
Man,
that was incredible.
Word, man. You got me, man. You pulled it
like
out.
Like I said, dude, halfway through it, I swear to God, I just forgot what we were talking about. I mean, you went somewhere. You just had an out of body experience, bro. I don't even think you knew what you were saying. You were embodied by the divine representative of Buffalo.
Yes,
to speak to the people and tell them, listen. I mean, that was like a war speech. Like if I was about to send my men into battle, I mean, I guess it just comes to your head. I mean, you didn't have that prepared.
No, it just came.
That was off the rip,
man. That just came out.
That was just, dude.
That's pure fire passion, man.
Listen, I don't even care what I had to say. It's over. It's done. We're 2 hours in the books. Listen, 2 hours in the books, and nothing's going to top that off. 2 great hours of content. I hope you enjoyed. The best part is I had like 8 topics that we were going to talk about, and I think we talked about maybe 2 of them in 2 hours. So the rule of thumb I learned tonight, what's the point of scheduling it out when the boys get on here with all you great people? One topic leads to the next. Next thing you know, 2 hours are in the books, and we had a great time doing it. I appreciate you tuning in tonight. Rev, appreciate you tuning in tonight. By the way, if you hadn't gotten enough, Rev's newest episode of his new show on the Buffalo Fanatics Network is coincidentally out today. Tell them about it, Rev. Tell them. Clearly, they haven't had enough. Tell them about it. Yeah,
man. Rated Rev is the name of my podcast right here on the Buffalo Fanatics Network. And you guys, it's out. It comes out on Mondays at 12 noon Eastern. So it's pre-recorded, but it doesn't matter. You're still gonna get the same passion, the same fire as you're always gonna get from your boy Rev, your favorite Reverend. So go check that out right now on the Buffalo Fanatics Network. Rated Rev episode 5, and I talk about a lot of the things that we talked about tonight. A lot of
what's new? What's up in the new one? What do you got going on in that one?
Positional breakdown. So what I'm doing is I'm going through a lot of positions and I'm rating them using emojis. how
genius.
How do you feel about the tight end and the running back position? I did that last week. Today I talked about the wide receivers and cornerback. So how do you feel about it? How would you guys rate the wide receivers and the cornerback position using emojis? That's what I'm going to be doing from now until the draft. So stay tuned for that Mondays at 12 p.m. Eastern time for your lunch break, baby.
Trying to think of the one I'd use for Allen. I'd probably use the rocket emoji, oh my God, what the hell is it called? The purple fruit meant to look like something else, and you can fill.
Oh yes. I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name of that fruit though, but yeah, I know what you're talking about. For me, I would put Josh Allen. I thought about this a couple times. I would use the lock position. I mean, the lock emoji.
No, it's just
Josh Allen is locked up, man. Like, he is the dude, man. He puts it on. He puts the clamps on. He is the guy. And as we're rating positions, like Josh Allen is locked up. Ain't nobody getting that job.
Rev, your speech destroyed my internet, and we got to get out of here. I don't know what the hell. I got to talk to somebody, and I did talk to somebody last week, and it's not fixed. This is unbelievable. I'll do better next week. Yes, thank you. By the way, eggplant. For God's sakes, for God's sakes, man. This brain needs some rest.
I didn't know what it was, man.
I need to go.
I was about to say passion fruit. Can you believe that? I was going to say that.
That would have worked.
Let me keep that in my head.
Whatever. Just how about we put in the I don't know. I got nothing. You blew my mind. I'm out. Peace. Next Monday. See you there.
Go Bills, guys.
Go Bills.